And action.
Alright, what's up everybody? This is T. Everybody calls me Retro from my page, RetroFin23. Where is Retro and where are we now? Type of thing. This is my girl,
Lene.
and we're going to talk to you about some of our experiences. And today we're talking about Cuba.
So, next we're going to talk about the best part. Money, 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 money. Hey. Money. Money, 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 money. Make it rain. Make it rain with Cuban dollars. Make it rain with Cuban.
We're going to talk about Cuban money, what to expect, what's the conversion rate, how to not get gypped, things like that, okay? So, as you can see, it's my accountant right here, you know, going through the pesos. So, the way the Cubans set it up is there's two types of currencies. One for them, which are the locals, they call them pesos, and then another type for the tourists, which is everybody not Cuban and flying in there to have a good time, whatever the case may be, and they call it convertibles.
So you want to make sure that you convert your money to euros before you go, because if you don't and you go with US dollars, you're going to get taxed like 10% on US dollars when you go. Off top. You don't want to do that. We're talking about saving money, not spending extra money. Two forms of currency. So you have the Cuban peso, and then you have the CUC.
There's the CUP, which is what they call Cuban convertible pesos, which is given to locals only. The only how you'll get a hold of that is if you go to a local store and your change amount isn't enough to give you tourist money back, so they give you local money to give you the rest of your change. So that's the local money. The tourist money is what they give to me and whoever else isn't Cuban going into the country, and that money is called a CUC, Cuban convertible, right? They're worth two different amounts. If you exchange one tourist dollar, one CUC, to one CUP, which is the Cuban tourist money, it's 25 to 1. So potentially it could have been a lot more cheap to go there, but because we're tourists, they kind of counteract that with tourist money and they charge us more money. So that's one thing to know.
That's how we got our hands on it. So you want to go to local shops, restaurants, things like that, maybe taxis when you're getting on a personal taxi and they give you some change back. That's how you're going to get your hands on it. Other than that, you kind of can't. Where can you get CUCs from?
So you can mainly find it at the airport. That's the biggest place, and there are some spots on Obispo Street, which is the main street in Cuba for shopping and things like that, where they do exchanges. I've exchanged some extra money there, so I know firsthand you can find it there, okay? And if all else fails, you can always ask a local. They're very helpful and pointing you in the right direction or leading you to where you can go to get pretty much anything you need. So that's one option in case you're not sure. So which is worth more? The tourist money is worth more. They're charging us 25 to 1 exchange rate, so the tourist money is worth more than the local money. The tourist, the CUC, it has a whole person statue on the front of the bill, okay? It's very colorful, stuff like that. And then on the local CUP, the peso, you have a face. So it's always a face on the front versus a whole person statue. That's one of the quickest ways to tell, aside from actually reading the bill and reading peso or peso convertible. So those are two different ways to figure it out. We haven't had any problems with exchanging our money or getting inaccurate change back, but it's always best to kind of know the differences so you have that peace of mind.
So you want to make sure you want to bring enough money. So whatever cash that you come to Cuba with is what you're going to have for the remainder of the trip. You can't go to an ATM and just pull out euros or pull out US dollars. That's it. So make sure that you bring enough cash for your food, for your taxis, tips.
Definitely tip the people. Tip them. They don't make a lot of money. Tip them. Some of the main exports are cigars and rum and things like that.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure you have money for that, right? They don't take credit cards and things like that. So you aren't going to be able to go to the ATM. You can't go to the store. You can't swipe your card for the cigars. What you have is what you have. What you come there with is that's it. So you want to make sure you bring enough for the Wi-Fi cards that you have to pay extra for, for tips, for taxis. It all adds up. Trust me, it adds up quickly, and before you know it, you could be out. All right, not a money and not a way to get to the airport. And that's a bad sign. Okay, so definitely bring it up. Bring that money. Absolutely can't use your credit cards or debit cards in Cuba. They will not work. Okay, the one time, and this is just a disclaimer, this worked for us, it might not work for you. We were on our last day, me, Raul, and Lisa, the last day out there, and we budgeted our money pretty well, but we wanted to see if you know, we were trying to go somewhere else and maybe have one more good night and things like that. And so we were on our last day, and Lisa just happened to try the ATM while me and Raul were skeptical because we've done our research and we knew that that does not work. But she went ahead and tried it anyway, because what's the worst that can happen? She was actually able to get money out of the ATM using her credit union debit card. I don't know how that happened or why, if it was a fluke, but it happened for her. She was able to pull out money with her credit union debit card through the Cuban ATM. So that was great. And that's just one other cheat sheet way to know. I would, if you have a credit union, I would bring the card, but I wouldn't rely on it. I wouldn't rely on that card working, but it could work. So that's something that you could try as a backup of the backup of the backup. Okay, that worked for her. We didn't have credit union at the time, so it didn't work for us. Obviously, our debit cards didn't work. But that's one way, that one little backup, kind of like ace in the hole. If it works for you, great. If not, you know, you knew ahead of time that it was a real gamble. That's about it. You know, that's all you know pretty much about Cuban currency. If you have questions, definitely send me a DM or anything like that. Like, comment, subscribe. Please, if you can, take a look at my other videos. Tell me what you think. I got a couple of them up here. Every Wednesday there'll be a new video out talking about something travel related. Thanks again. Until the next video. Shit. I started off good. All right. Another one. Boop, 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 boop. I'm gonna have a whole movie worth of bloopers. Okay, start over.
It's the 20 pesos. The peso. That's
actually. Other than that, that's pretty much how Cuban money works. There's two types, like I said, local and tourist money. The local money, they call it the CUP, which is the pesos, and then the tourist money, they call it the CUC, which is convertibles, right? Because they're basically converting our 25 to 1 and shipping us, but that's neither here nor there. Okay.